Welcome everyone, my name is Hipnozer and this is the second part of the philosophical series. Now in this episode I'd like to talk about the introduction to the concept known as absurdism. Now let's start with what we will talk about today. First we'll start with the concept of Wizard of Gore from 1970s as a concept of relativization of reality and also a warning of its dangers. Then we're going to talk about Schopenhauerism and share some basic information about it. Then we're going to talk about the criticism of pessimism and optimism. Then we're going to take a look at the existential roots of the absurdistic movement. Then we will define the absurdic movement and the character of Sisyphus. And then we will start with the literature, basic literature of Albert Camus, which has largely influenced the concept of absurdism. Then we will talk about the approach to the absurdistic world and philosophical approach to the war. Okay, so let's start with the Wizard of Gore. The main character here is a illusionist magician, clever trickster, sly deceiver as they call him, a person who questions the rules of logic and the real world. To such an extent that to some degree the character is doing the moral nihilism we were talking about in the first episode. The movie creates a mysterious atmosphere associated with horror and fear. And it also shows the dangers of the relativistic approach. So once we told that, let's explain the basic of Schopenhauerism. It comes from the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, which was associated with the so-called pessimism. Here we have some main characteristics of his philosophy. Undermining the value of existence, similar to existential nihilism, the idea of irrational world, and idea obstructing way of thinking. According to World War II historian Piotr Zychowicz, we're not talking about the division between pessimism and optimism, but rather a division between realism and hysteric optimism. And I think this is quite accurate, and here we're going to reason in those regards. So, as I said in the first video, we were dealing with existential. So, according to existential nihilism, life has no internal meaning and value, and from this, and with this is connected the idea of existentialism, a philosophical movement that underlines exceptional position of of individual as self-declaring representative responsible for making important authentic choices in the universe perceived as pointless or irrational. And under we have the examples of writers and philosophers connected with existentialism. Okay. Okay, so once we have shown the examples of the writers connected with absurdism, now it's time to define the concept of absurdism. From existential philosophy was born the term of absurdism, as I stated earlier, and it's a philosophy based on irrationality and meaninglessness of the universe, and the search for order brings people in that philosophy to the conflict with the universe. Now, in this place, it's worth mentioning Albert Camus literature, notably the myth of Sisyphus, where there is a sentence: there's only one really serious philosophical question, and that is suicide. And the Sisyphus is a character who endlessly pushes a rock up, only to see it go down almost at the end. This portrayal can be interpreted as manifesto of absurdity of existence. Definition of yes, more about Sisyphus. Sisyphus was king of Corinth, famous for cheating death, and because he cheated death, he was supposed to be punished for that, and the question arises, what was that punishment for? And here we have three main reasons why that happened. Offenses against Zeus, cunning and treachery of Sisyphus, imprisonment by chains of various gods, Thanatos or Chaos. We also need to mention the story of Stranger by Albert Camus, analogy to where we see the analogy to the Wizard of Gore. The Stranger presents Meso, a French Algerian, which has traits of the indifferent guy to the world, a guy without emotion, and with no break to use violence, analogous to the Wizard of Gore we mentioned earlier. He kills the guy with cold blood and doesn't regret anything. What also comes to mind is the comparison between hero and anti-hero in the Pest by Albert Camus. And here was the question, what is an actual plague, we or the virus? I leave that for the viewer to decide. Okay. So we have three ways to approach the absurdistic world. And as we see in the picture, there's only one way which can be an effective approach, which is somehow trying to fill the void, because the other ones on the right essentially lead to nowhere. And historically we have two approaches to war. One is from Greek mythology, where or Roman mythology, where the Ares or Mars is shown as the god of war, and we also have Judaistic idealization and the idea of holy war. Okay, so summing up, we have talked about Wizard of Gore, Schopenhauerism ideas, the criticism of pessimism and optimism. We've shown the existential root of the absurdic movement, the definition of the movement, and examples from Albert Camus literature to show the basics of absurdic movement. Thanks everyone, this will be all for now, more videos coming soon.